beloved Papa on sadhana. Earnest seekers may find it useful to pause after reading every article, reflect on the theme and live with it. It is more important than reading the whole booklet at one go. So I'm going to read section 1, pointers to make the sadhana effective. All of us are blessed with love and devotion and a desire to have God vision. But desire alone won't do. Our aspiration to realize the truth must be fierce and our sadhana well disciplined. Instead of merely being devotees, we must turn into real sadhakas. Devotees are those who are devoted to God, but aspire mainly for worldly things. So devotees are those who are devoted to God, but aspire mainly for worldly things. They are not generally keen on having anything higher, whereas sadhakas aspire only for God. The first quality necessary for a sadhaka when he strives to realize God is a heroic spirit. He should not have lukewarm enthusiasm and a timid march on the path because they prolong the struggle, often ending in uncertainty and disappointment. We also have to ensure not to seek peace and freedom in external circumstances of life because true freedom is of the mind only. We also have to ensure not to seek peace and freedom in external circumstances of life because true freedom is of the mind only. Let the knocks and hits of life turn us more and more towards God so that we become impervious to all kinds of outside attacks upon us. It should not affect us in any way. Therefore, let us be earnest in employing all the resources of our being to advance towards the supreme goal. May our thoughts, words, and deeds have a background of divine consciousness. It is to be remembered that unless we link our life with the divine author of our being, our life is in vain. May our thoughts, words, and deeds have a background of divine consciousness. It is to be remembered that unless we link our life with the divine author of our being, our life is in vain. Steadily, we have to practice concentration of thought on God. Now we have to practice concentration of thought on God until we feel His nearness, until we become aware of His presence, until we have the vision of Him everywhere around us, until we realize our oneness with Him. Let me read that again. Steadily, we have to practice concentration on God by thinking of God until we feel His nearness, until we become aware of His presence, until we have the vision of Him everywhere around us, until we realize our oneness with Him. So we have to graduate from devotees to sadhakas. Doubts may then arise whether this can be done while leading a normal life and a professional life. With intense aspiration to realize God, coupled with a high degree of dispassion, the sadhaka will be able to attain this state. So doubts may then arise whether this can be done while leading a normal life and professional life. But with intense aspiration to realize God, coupled with a high degree of dispassion, the sadhaka will be able to attain this state. The methodology is to chant his name with the right perspective, prayer and meditation, besides dedicating all the activities to him. True liberation, peace, and bliss can come to a spiritual aspirant only when he combines the inner sadhana of remembrance and meditation with the outer dedication of actions to the divine. So, true liberation of peace and bliss can come to a spiritual aspirant only when he combines the inner sadhana of remembrance and meditation with the outer dedication of actions to the divine. Every action performed is an impersonal spirit. Every action performed in an impersonal spirit becomes a worship of God. It is therefore necessary for a sadhaka to be watchful and vigilant over the antics of the mind. If the mind is given a free rein, sadhana would be impossible. It is also essential that the sadhaka should watch every step he takes on the spiritual path. Such a one must control thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Such a one must control thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. His or her thoughts should always dwell in the oneness of all objects and things. The feelings should be pure and go out in love and sympathy towards the whole creation. And actions should be a spontaneous flow of the sadhaka's dynamic nature. The obstacles in the way of the sadhaka are self-centeredness, reliance on his own puny strength and wisdom, his dependence upon the perishable and important objects of life deprives him of the divine care and protection. So let me read that again. The obstacles that come in the way of a sadhaka are his own self-centeredness, his reliance on his own puny strength and wisdom, his dependence upon the perishable and unimportant objects of life deprives him of the divine care and protection. He likes his likes and dislikes, favors and prejudices, set up a thick wall on his path. Suspicion, distrust, and sensitiveness keeps him always on the rack, giving him no rest and no peace. He should fling himself into the infinite life. His individual sense must merge in the cosmic spirit. The harrowing pairs of opposite, good and bad, happiness and sorrow, right and wrong, etc., have their way to let the mind keep oscillating. Therefore, it is stressed that the need for a sadhaka is to take his stand on the infinite reality, as that alone will keep him centered in the sadhana. The harrowing pair of opposites, good and bad, happiness and sorrow, right and wrong, etc., have their way to keep the mind oscillating. Therefore, it is stressed that the need for a sadhaka is to take his stand on the infinite reality, as that alone will he keep him centered in the sadhana. The means to overcome this is, instead of allowing ourselves to be upset by the change in the transient, to fix our mind upon the deathless, formless, eternal truth. This is done only by stilling the mind, quietening of all waves of thought that trouble it. The path is the continuous repetition of God's name and meditation and the surrender of all our actions to God. That is his first chapter. And like he said, it is a bit much to read the second part. I would like to say what Swamiji has said about mantra initiation before I read chapter 2. So initiation of Guru Mantra. Initiation from the Guru gives a new birth to you. And because we are speaking about constant repetition of Ram Nam, let us read what it means when we repeat Ram Nam when initiated by our Guru. Initiation from the Guru gives a new birth to you. While a mother gives you physical birth, the Guru gives you spiritual birth. A birth in which you realize eternal peace and bliss. The name automatically comes to your mind without any struggle. If you get initiation from a saint who has realized God, the name automatically comes to your mind without any struggle if you get initiation from a saint who has realized God. When Ramdas first started on this path, he found that he was getting a certain measure of peace by the repetition of the name of God, which he himself had chosen. Later, when he received the mantra from his Guru and started repeating it, the result was remarkable. The mind not only became still and calm, but also continuously bathed in the ocean of peace. When he found the difference between the repetition of a name chosen by oneself and the repetition of a mantra given by a guru, he then found the difference between the repetition of a name chosen by oneself and the repetition of a mantra given by a guru. From this, you can make out that the mantra given by a guru is more powerful than the name which you have chosen for yourself. This does not mean that God's name is less powerful than the mantra. What is important is receiving the mantra from a saint. It may be said that the name repeated before initiation leads the aspirant to the Guru. So the name repeated before initiation leads the aspirant to his Guru, who will then give him proper initiation. So the struggle necessarily leads the devotee to a saint from whom he receives the initiation and his spiritual backing, with the result that the progress of the aspirant on the path to God realization becomes steady, sure, and rapid. When the Guru gives you initiation, he imparts spiritual power to you with the mantra. You miss this otherwise. After we receive initiation from the Guru, we must feel the presence of the Guru. We must feel the presence of the Guru within us, as the Guru and the truth within are not different. The Guru has come as a person in human form outside us to give us the necessary guidance, awaken us and make our mind and turn our minds towards him within us. The name is compared to a bridge that connects both the banks of a river. The banks represents the personal and impersonal aspects of the divine. By becoming a votary of the name, you have the vision of the personal God on one side and the knowledge of the impersonal on the other. But you must get the taste of the name and not take it mechanically. The mind must be attuned to the name. All the attributes of God must flash before our mind when we take the name, because the name is the very embodiment of God. When the mind is attuned to the name and tastes its sweetness, it is as good as tasting God Himself, and we attain liberation in this very life. Guru Mantra by Mataji Krishna Bai. It is said that the divine name is such a powerful instrument that its initiation cannot be given to everyone. Even among those of you who have got initiation, only few can practice repeating it. If we have such a powerful name on our lips, our vision will also expand so as to embrace the whole universe. Ram Nam can save us from all perils. You should keep Ram Nam ceaselessly on your lips, and then all will be well. The very fact that you got the Namantra means Guru's grace is showering on you. You only have to be aware of it. Be it any mantra, as long as it is given by a Guru, it will protect us from all harm. Adding to this, Swami Ramdas says, repetition of the holy mantra purifies the mind. Satsung elevates you and grants you right knowledge. Last comes Guru Kripa. The awareness of it makes you realize you are the embodiment of an eternal existence full of bliss and peace. That is the glory of the Mantra Diksha by Swami Shivananda. What does Shivananda Swamiji have to say about mantra initiation? Nama Japa means we give a name to God and call Him by that name. You give Him that name which you like most. The repeating of the name is to remove all extraneous things. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Initiation into the divine name or the solemn mantra diksha is one of the holiest and most significant of all the sacred rituals in the spiritual life. To receive the Guru mantra from a realized saint and Satguru is the rarest of good fortune and the most precious of all divine blessings that may be bestowed upon an aspirant. The full glory of this mantra diksha, especially when it is given by a realized soul, can hardly be imagined even fractionally by the initiated, who has not yet a proper idea of what this mantra and mantra diksha really implies. The process of mantra diksha is one of the most ancient in this sacred land, and it is the grandest jewel in the treasure of our peerless culture. The sacred mantra or the divine name is a vital symbol of the divine, supreme divinity directly revealed in the innermost depths of divine communion or to the sages or self-realization in the Vedic and Upanishadic times. These symbols are in the nature of unfailing keys to give access to the transcendental realms of the absolute experience. Mantras are potent givers of direct experience to the highest reality, handed down to us from those far off ancient times. Mantras have been carefully handed down to us through the centuries, generation after generation, right up to the modern age of materialism by the long succession of saints. through the system of Guru Parampara. The most tremendous transformation begins to take place in the innermost core of the consciousness of the initiated or the receiver of the mantra. The initiated is himself unaware of this fact because the veil of ignorance or is still covers him. Even as a poor man sleeping soundly in his humble cottage at night, carried silently and deposited upon a royal couch in an emperor's palace, remains completely unaware of this transfer because he is still in deep sleep. But nevertheless, this transformation starts with initiation. And like onto a seed that is sown on the earth, ultimately in a culminates in a grand fruit of realization or atma gnana. To reach fruition, even as the seed has to pass through a process of developing into a seedling, a plant, a sapling, and then a full grown tree, even so, the sadhaka, after receiving initiation, must make earnest and continuous effort in the form of spiritual sadhana. If the diksha has to become blissfully fruitful as self realization. This part is the sadhaka's sole responsibility, in which task he will doubtlessly receive the help, guidance, and grace of the Guru in the measure of his firm faith and loyalty to him. As a pearl oyster patiently and eagerly waits for the drops of rain when the star is receives the drop and converts it into itself through its own efforts and process into a very valuable pearl, the sadhaka eagerly and devotedly awaits mantra initiation from the Guru, receives the sacred mantra from him on the rare auspicious occasion, cherishes it and nurtures it in himself. And by this effort or process of sadhana, transforms it into a tremendous spiritual power which breaks the fort of Advaita or ignorance and opens the door to the blissful immortal experience. Initiation puts you in possession with the direct meaning of attaining the grandest and the highest thing which can be attained, attaining which you obtain everything, knowing which you know everything, and gaining which nothing more remains to be gained. Initiation leads you to the full knowledge and experience that you are neither the mind nor the body, that you are Satchitananda Atma, full of light, inherent in God Himself. Initiation is the descendant of God through a human channel. It is bestowed upon a living disciple. This bestowal may be designated as grace. No doubt God, in his real nature, transcends name and form in its present and is present everywhere. But he must attune himself to our receptivity so that our minds can receive him. This is the law of spiritual world demonstrated even by God men like Krishna, Christ, Chaitanya, and Ramakrishna, who, in spite of their divine nature, accepted human teachers as they were, as it were, to set an example for the common man. God is the real guru, but he uses a human instrument to manifest his power. The purer the channel, the clearer the manifestation of the power. The human teacher must possess qualification to discharge this task. The Upanishads emphasize that the knowledge and realization of Brahman are the primary qualification. Knowledge, which belongs to the domain of intellect, is necessary to dispel the disciples' doubts. Furthermore, The Guru must be sinless and free from worldly motives. He should act as a friend of those who with humility seek his help, an ocean of infinite compassion. He wants the welfare of the disciples and helps unnoticed and unheralded in unfolding his spirituality as the spring unfolds, just as the spring unfolds leaves and blossoms after the cold and bleak months of winter. No wonder these qualifications of an ideal teacher are fully found only in saints and godmen who visit earth from time to time. The right teacher always appears in the proper time to help the qualified pupil. Spirituality can be literally handed down like any physical object if the teacher possesses it and the student is capable of receiving it. A thought can be as vivid and real as a tangible thing. An aspirant can be initiated by a look or a touch or by mystical words. The imparting of the mystical word is called the mantra, is the usual method of initiation. Real mantras are not created by the human intellect. They exist in the cosmic mind of God and are revealed to a qualified teacher. In the beginning, in the beginning was the word. Different mantras are adapted to the different aspects of the Godhead and the needs of the pupil. Through some mantras, the pupil can commune with God's impersonal aspect, through some with his personal. Some mantras stimulate a disciple's love for God, some his knowledge, and so on. Holy Mother Shardamani Devi said, the mantra purifies the body. One becomes pure by repeating the name of God given by the Guru. The mantra is to be regularly repeated by the disciple with concentration and devotion. It has an intrinsic power of its own. It kindles the spark of spirituality in the disciple. A disciple asked the mother whether the mere repetition of holy word taught by a qualified guru really helped the aspirant if he did not possess intense devotion. So mother replies, whether you jump into the water or you are pushed into it. She replied, your clothes will be soaked, will it not? The mantra is generally chosen by the guru, who sometimes in its selection takes into consideration the feelings of the shishya. Besides imparting the mantra, the guru teaches through instruction and personal example and silent influence. The relationship between such a teacher and a student is eternal and cannot be severed by death. The Guru stands by the pupil both here and thereafter and does not cease guiding him until he is liberated from the bondage, the delusion, and suffering of the world. He is the pupil's father, more real than the earthly father who gives birth only to a physical body, for it is he who gives him the spiritual birth. The knowledge of God which the teacher transmits is, according to the Upanishads, dearer than the sun, dearer than wealth, dearer than all the precious things of the world. Anyone who has a sincere longing for the higher life and is ready to work for it can be approached. Work for it can approach a teacher. According to the Bhagavad Gita, the student should have unbounded faith in his teacher. Full of humility, he should put intelligent questions to him. Religious instructions, according to one of the Upanishads, become fruitful only when it is obtained from a teacher. Spiritual experience involves, as already mentioned, the descent of God and the ascent of the soul, the grace of God and the right effort of the seeker. The meeting of a competent teacher and a qualified student is an unusual phenomenon. And Upanishad says, many there are who do not even hear of Atman. Though hearing of it, many do not comprehend. Wonderful is the expounder and rare the hearer. Rare indeed is the experience of the Atman taught by an able guru. Whatever you do, devote your whole mind, heart, and soul to it.